Welcome to Wisdom Guardians. This podcast is an exploration of how human consciousness evolves and how it fractures. Each episode examines history, psychology, power, propaganda, and myth to understand how societies rise, fall, and sometimes lose themselves. Season 1 traced early patterns of authoritarian rule from ancient fear-based domination to modern tyranny. Season 2 goes deeper, stepping directly into the minds of ruthless rulers. We begin with Caligula. Caligula was not simply cruel. He was psychologically unmoored, a young man shaped by terror, trauma, unchecked power, and a system that rewarded spectacle, humiliation, and domination. His reign reveals something essential. Authoritarianism is not just political, it is psychological. It grows inside wounded minds and is amplified by systems that reward cruelty and obedience. In this episode, we explore Caligula's psychology, his paranoia, sadism, theatrical power displays, and emotional volatility, and draw unsettling parallels to modern figures such as Donald Trump. Not as historical equivalents, but as psychological resonance. How security, grievance, narcissism, and fear combine with spectacle and propaganda to produce a specific authoritarian personality pattern. Behind the scenes, I use advanced AI research tools, including Google LM, to accelerate historical analysis, cross-reference academic sources, and synthesize psychological and political framework. The video I use, Genov. But the lens guiding this work is human, a deep concern for what happens when trauma, power, and propaganda converge. This season is about understanding ruthless rulers, not to sensationalize them, but to decode them. Because when we understand how authoritarian psychology forms, we gain power to disrupt it. This is Wisdom Guardians, and this is Caligula.
Okay, so I want you to picture the ultimate villain of Roman history, but not, the quiet, calculating type. I mean, pure, unfiltered chaos.
I have a pretty good idea who you're talking about.
I'm guessing you're picturing the guy who supposedly declared war on the ocean?
And wanted to make his horse a high-ranking government official.
Exactly. The one who treated the Roman Empire like his own personal, very bloody reality show.
We are, without a doubt, talking about Gaius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, or, as pretty much everyone knows him, Caligula.
That's the one. He's the poster child for absolute power corrupts absolutely. But here's the thing that really struck me digging through the sources for this. We've got Suetonius, Cassius Dio, Philo,
Right.
and they all paint this picture of a complete monster. But the more you read, the more you start to wonder, are we just looking at a caricature?
Well, that's the classic problem with ancient history, isn't it? The people writing the story are usually the ones who survive the main character.
And have every reason to hate him.
Exactly. They were the survivors of his reign.
Right. So the mission for this deep dive isn't to, defend him because, spoiler alert, the guy was incredibly dangerous. It's to peel back 2,000 years of rumors.
Just find out, was he actually mad in a clinical medical sense?
Or was he something else, a tyrant who was just pushing the absolute boundaries of what an emperor could be?
And to really get that, we can't start with all the crazy stories. We have to start with the name.
The name itself.
Because Caligula wasn't a title. It was a joke. It was a cute nickname.
Yeah, this part is wild. Caligula literally means little boot. It sounds less like a terrifying dictator and more like a character in a kid's book.
It's so ironic. He was born into what was basically the Roman equivalent of a rock star family. His father, Germanicus, wasn't just a general. He was the general.
Charismatic, successful, everything the actual emperor Tiberius was not.
Exactly. Tiberius was gloomy and paranoid. Germanicus was the golden boy.
And his mother, Agrippina the Elder, she was Augustus's own granddaughter. I mean, this is real royalty.
They were this power couple on the frontier. And they'd bring little Gaius along with them on military campaigns.
And his mom, she would dress him up in this tiny little soldier's uniform.
Right, to boost morale.
Yeah.
Complete with these miniature hobnailed army boots. The soldiers went crazy for it.
They saw this little toddler stomping around and started calling him Caligula.
Little boot.
It's such a cute image, but it sets up this incredibly dark contrast for everything that comes next. Because that phase, it didn't last long.
No. The sources describe his childhood as a relentless horror movie. That's really the only way to put it.
Horror movie feels right. When Caligula is just 7, his father dies in Syria.
And it wasn't from a battle wound. The belief at the time, and it's very plausible, was that he was poisoned,
On the orders of Emperor Tiberius.
who was insanely jealous of his popularity.
So his dad is murdered by the emperor, but Tiberius doesn't just stop there, does he?
Not even close. He goes on to systematically dismantle the entire family. Caligula's mother, Agrippina, She was a fierce woman.
She openly accused Tiberius.
She did. And in Rome, you just don't accuse the emperor of murder and expect things to go well. Tiberius exiled her and had her starved to death.
And his brothers, Nero and Drusus. The details are just gruesome. Imprisoned, one of them supposedly forced to eat the stuffing from his own mattress.
It was a total, absolute purge. And in the middle of all this carnage, there's just one survivor.
Caligula, a teenager watching his entire world get erased.
And then comes the twist, the really sick psychological torture part. He gets summoned to the island of Capri
To live with Tiberius.
to live with the man who killed his entire family.
I mean, can you even imagine he has to eat dinner with him? He has to make small talk.
And this is where the Mad Emperor is forged. Not in the palace in Rome, but on that island. The sources say he became completely unreadable.
He learned to wear a mask.
The perfect mask.
Yeah.
Never mourned his mother, never mentioned his brothers. He just smiled at the men who destroyed his life.
There's that quote, I think it was Tacitus, that said there was never a better slave or a worse master.
That just sums it up perfectly. He had to be the perfect slave to survive. He was quiet, humble, obsequious.
But Tiberius knew he wasn't a fool.
No, he reportedly looked at this quiet teenager and said, "I am nursing a viper for the Roman people." He could see what was simmering just under the surface.
So we fast forward to 37 AD. Tiberius is dead, maybe with a little help from Caligula and a pillow.
The rumors are certainly there.
And Caligula becomes emperor in 24. And here's where the story gets so interesting, because we always skip straight to the insanity. But the first few months were apparently amazing.
They were euphoric. You have to remember, Rome had been living under this cloud of paranoia and terror with Tiberius.
And then now here comes the son of the beloved Germanicus. Young, handsome.
He's a little boot. He's their hero's son. The sources call it a golden age. He recalled exiles, burned treason trial records.
He put on lavish games. He was doing everything right. He was the anti-Tiberius.
For about 7 months he was. But then, late in 37 AD, everything changes.
He gets sick.
Violently ill. We don't know what it was. Historians guess everything from encephalitis to meningitis to just a total nervous breakdown.
And the whole empire's praying for him. He's hovering between life and death.
But when he wakes up,
Yeah.
the guy who comes back isn't the golden child anymore.
The viper has arrived.
And this is the pivotal moment. There's a huge debate here.
Yeah.
Did the illness physically damage his brain? Did a high fever literally cook his frontal cortex and destroy his impulse control?
And I kind of lean towards this theory from Philo. Was it psychological?
An awakening.
Exactly. He almost died. He realized life is short.
Yeah.
More importantly, he realized he had absolute total power. Why bother pretending to be the good slave anymore?
The mask is off.
Yeah.
He realized that as emperor, there are no consequences. And the first thing he does is secure his position with brutal, chilling efficiency.
He executes Magro, the guy who helped him get the throne.
Forces his own father-in-law to commit suicide. And then the worst one, he executes his cousin Gemellus.
Gemellus was just a kid, wasn't he?
A teenager. And he was Caligula's adopted son and heir. Killing him severed the last possible link to any rival claimant. It was cold, calculated politics.
But then the behavior shifts from just ruthless politician into something much stranger.
Yes. This is where we get into the theatrical narcissist phase. He starts dressing up as gods.
Not just claiming to be divine, but literally playing dress up.
He'd show up in public as Hercules, with the club and the lion skin, or as Mercury, with the winged sandals, sometimes even as the goddess Venus.
He called himself Neos Helios, right? The new sun.
The new sun. Now, to our ears, that just sounds like a psychotic break. I am a god.
But there's a political angle here too, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Remember, he spent his youth in the East. He was obsessed with Hellenistic culture. And in Egypt, in the East, Kings were gods. They weren't just the first citizen like Roman emperors pretended to be.
So he was trying to change the whole system, to move Rome away from being a principate where the emperor is theoretically first among equals.
To a full-blown divine monarchy. He was telling the Senate, I'm not your partner. I am your deity.
But he pushed it way too far. The Jerusalem controversy is just a massive blunder.
Oh, this story from Philo is incredible. Caligula orders a giant statue of himself to be built and placed inside the Jewish temple in Jerusalem.
Which is the one thing you absolutely cannot do.
It's a declaration of spiritual war against a fiercely monotheistic people. Philo makes it clear this would have triggered a massive revolt across the entire East.
It was stopped it.
The local governor, a man named Petronius, who realized the order was insane and just, stalled. He dragged his feet, found excuses until, luckily for everyone, Caligula was assassinated.
Wow, a very close call. Okay, so we have the God complex. Let's get to the greatest hits, the stories everyone knows.
Incitatus, the horse.
Did he really make his horse a consul?
So this is the most famous story of all. But we have to look at the sources carefully. Both Suetonius and Dio say he planned to make the horse a consul.
Ah, so there's no record of the horse actually showing up to the Senate.
And voting on tax policy? No. But he did give the horse a marble stall, purple blankets, a staff of servants.
So what's the point? Is he just crazy? Does he think the horse is a person?
Or is he making a point to the Senate? Think about it.
Right. If you're a senator and you've spent your entire life climbing the political ladder, and the emperor says, my horse is more valuable than you.
It's not madness. It's the ultimate humiliation.
It's satire.
It's extreme, vicious satire. He's saying, the job of consul has become so meaningless under my rule that literally a horse could do it. It's a way to spit in the face of the entire aristocracy.
And that theme of spite, it seems to explain the bridge at Baiae, too, this massive 2-mile floating bridge of ships he built just to ride a horse across it. Why?
Because of a prophecy.
Yeah.
Years earlier, a soothsayer told Tiberius that Caligula had no more chance of becoming emperor than of riding a horse across the Bay of Baiae.
So when he becomes emperor, he literally paves the bay with ships to prove the prophecy wrong.
Exactly. He gets hundreds of merchant ships, anchors them in a line, covers them with dirt, and rides across wearing Alexander the Great's breastplate. It was this massive, expensive stunt that probably caused food shortages.
But for him, it was worth it, just to say, I beat fate.
It's petty on a cosmic scale.
And speaking of petty, let's talk about the War on the Sea. The story is he marches his legions to the English Channel, ready to invade Britain. And then what?
And then orders the soldiers to collect seashells as the spoils of the ocean.
This is usually Exhibit A for him having completely snapped.
So there's a fascinating linguistic theory about this. The Latin word for seashells is muscule.
Okay.
But muscule was also military slang for sapper huts or maybe siege engines.
Oh, so he might have just been saying, pack up your equipment, your musculi, and later historians who hated him either misunderstood or deliberately twisted it.
Exactly, to make him look like an idiot who fights the waves.
There's another theory too, right? That the troops actually mutinied.
Yes, that they refused to cross the channel. So Caligula, the master of humiliation, punishes them by making them do a child's task.
If you won't fight men, you can fight the sand.
It fits his psychological profile perfectly. He doesn't just punish, he degrades.
And no one felt that degradation more than Seneca. Now, Seneca the Younger, I know him as this great Stoic philosopher, the keep calm and carry on guy.
Seneca's a fascinating source because he's completely compromised. He hated Caligula, hated him with a passion.
Why? What was the beef there?
Well, for one, Caligula mocked Seneca's writing. Yeah. He called it sand without lime, gritty, but it doesn't hold together. And he almost had Seneca executed, basically out of professional jealousy.
So when Seneca writes about Caligula being a monster, he's writing about his own personal bully.
He is. And he tells this one story in his essay on anger that just shows the depth of Caligula's cruelty.
The dinner party.
The dinner party from hell. Caligula executes a nobleman's son.
Yeah.
That very same night, he invites the father to a banquet.
And the father has to go?
He has to go. And Caligula forces him to drink wine, wear a festive garland, and smile. He watches him the whole night, just waiting for him to crack.
He doesn't?
He doesn't, because the father has another son. And he knows if he sheds a single tear, Caligula will kill that son too.
That's a level of psychological torture that is hard to comprehend. He didn't just want to kill you, he wanted to break your spirit.
And that terror wasn't just for random nobles. It was for his own family too. Which brings us to the plot of the Three Daggers.
Right. So by 39 AD, he's not just paranoid, he's right to be.
He uncovers a very real conspiracy to assassinate him. And at the center of it, his own sisters, Agrippina the Younger and Livilla.
The same sisters he put on coins, the ones he was supposedly so close to.
The very same. They teamed up with his brother-in-law, Lepidus, to kill him and put Lepidus on the throne.
What a betrayal.
So Caligula has Lepidus executed, but for his sisters, he comes up with a special humiliation. He forces them to carry the urn with Lepidus's ashes all the way back to Rome.
And then exiles them and sells off all their property.
Everything.
Yeah.
Their furniture, their jewelry, which leads right into the financial ruin of his reign. All these stunts cost a fortune.
Suetonius says he blew through 2.7 billion sesterces, the entire treasury surplus, in 1 year.
So he had to get creative with fundraising.
Creative is one word for it, taxing everything. Weddings, lawsuits, even attacks on prostitutes.
And he held these forced auctions. He'd drag out all the old imperial heirlooms, his sister's confiscated property, and force the senators to bid insane prices.
Oh, you don't want to buy this old chair for 1 million sesterces? Are you saying you don't love your emperor?
Exactly. There's a story where a senator dozed off at one of these auctions. Caligula told the auctioneer to count every nod of his head as a bid.
No.
The guy woke up bankrupt, owning 13 gladiators he never wanted.
It's darkly funny, but you can see the clock is ticking. You can't humiliate the men with the swords forever.
And that's the ultimate lesson of his life. He thought fear was enough. He thought because he was divine, he was untouchable. He forgot he was surrounded by men with weapons who were tired of being made fun of.
So, the end. January 41 AD. Caligula is only 29. Who finally does it?
It wasn't the Senate. It was his own bodyguards, the Praetorian Guard.
Yeah.
Specifically, a tribune named Cassius Chaerea.
And again, it wasn't about some grand political ideal. It was personal.
Deeply personal. Chaerea was an old, tough soldier, but he had a high-pitched voice. And Caligula just thought this was hilarious.
He tormented him.
Every single day. When Chaerea would ask for the daily password, Caligula would give him watchwords like Venus or Priapus, basically calling him effeminate in front of the troops.
And Chaerea finally snapped.
He did. On January 24th, Caligula took a shortcut through an underground corridor. Chaerea and the other conspirators were waiting for him.
And it wasn't a clean death.
No, it was a butchery. They stabbed him over 30 times, and then the guards went on a frenzy. They hunted down and killed his wife, Caesonia.
And their daughter.
Their infant daughter. They smashed her head against a wall. They wanted to erase the entire line.
Just brutal.
And in the middle of all this chaos, there's this incredible cinematic moment. A soldier is looting the palace, and he sees a pair of feet sticking out from behind a curtain.
He pulls it back.
And there's Claudius, Caligula's uncle. The family laughingstock, the guy everyone thought was a fool. He's shaking, thinking he's next.
But instead,
the soldiers recognize him as the brother of their beloved Germanicus. And because they need an emperor to guarantee their pay, they just hoist him on their shoulders and proclaim him the new emperor.
And just like that, the dream of restoring the Republic is dead. The empire just rolls on.
It's the ultimate irony. Caligula, Little Boot, the army's mascot, was killed by the army, and then the army chose the next ruler.
So when you put it all together, the trauma, the cruelty, the theatrics, how do we answer that first question? Was he a madman, or was he misunderstood?
I think the clinical madness explanation is too easy. It lets us off the hook. If he's just a crazy person, he's an anomaly. But if you see him as a deeply traumatized young man who was given unlimited power and decided to test the absolute limits of that power, well, that's much scarier.
He was a performer.
He was. He realized that if you are the emperor of Rome, reality is whatever you say it is. If you say a horse is a consul, it is. If you say you are a god, you are.
And the madness was a performance, a calculated way to humiliate the elite.
And the elite Seneca, Suetonius, got their revenge by writing him into history as a cartoon monster.
So here's a final thought to leave with everyone.
Go on.
Caligula ruled for less than 4 years. But what if he hadn't bullied Cassius Chaerea?
Yeah.
What if he hadn't been assassinated? Would that divine style of rule have just become normal?
You mean, would Rome have just accepted a living god emperor centuries earlier?
Yep.
I think they might have. We like to think people resist tyranny, but Caligula showed that if you terrify them enough, they will smile and drink wine while you kill their children. He proved that the fabric of society is much, much thinner than we like to think.
That is a terrifying thought to end on. The line between a golden age and a nightmare is just one man with too much power.
And a very sharp dagger.
Thank you for helping us sort through the madness today.
Always a pleasure.
And to you, listening, thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.